The day my father shattered me started like every other family gathering. Polished oak floors gleaming under chandelier light. The air thick with lilies Vanessa had stuffed into a crystal vase. Their scent clawed at my throat. Too sweet. Too fake. I stood in the grand living room of my childhood home, arms crossed, watching her adjust each petal like it mattered. She wore a pastel dress that screamed money, her smile as hollow as the pleasantries we'd been choking down for years. Dad paced near his desk, all broad shoulders and graying hair, checking his watch every 30 seconds like he had somewhere better to be. Tyler sprawled across the leather armchair, legs kicked out, scrolling Instagram with that smug grin I'd learned to hate. At 24, he'd never worked a day in his life, just partied and posted about his hustle. "Celeste, honey, don't hover," Vanessa chirped, not looking up. "You'll scare the roses," I bit back a retort. My name's Celeste Young, 28, and for 3 years, I'd poured my soul into Dad's company, Richard Young Enterprises, learning every client, every supplier, every late-night spreadsheet. My MBA hung framed in my apartment, a promise fulfilled. Dad had sworn the business would be mine one day. I believed him. Stupid me. "Everyone, please sit down," Dad announced, his voice booming with that authority I'd grown up idolizing. He straightened his tie, eyes flicking to Vanessa. "I have something important to say." Tyler perked up, tossing his phone aside. I sank onto the sofa, stomach tightening. Vanessa beamed, perching beside him like a proud hen. Dad cleared his throat. "As you know, I've been thinking about the company's future." He smiled at Vanessa, who nodded like they'd rehearsed this. "After careful consideration, I've decided to transfer majority ownership and control to Tyler." The words hit me like a brick to the chest. My knuckles whitened on the armrest, the room tilting. "What?" It slipped out, a whisper lost in the hum of the AC. "Makes perfect sense," Vanessa jumped in, her hand landing on Tyler's shoulder. "A fresh perspective is just what we need." Tyler leaned back, smirking wider. "Don't worry, sis, I'll keep you on, maybe in payroll or something." "Dad," I managed, fighting to keep my voice from cracking. "We talked about this. I've been there 3 years. I have an MBA. I know every inch of that business." "Celeste, please." Dad raised a hand, cutting me off. This wasn't easy. Tyler's got innovative ideas that fit our vision going forward. "Innovative?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "He can't even spell profit." "Hey," Tyler snapped, sitting up. "I've got vision. You're just mad you're not the golden child anymore." "Enough." Dad's tone hardened. "You'll still get your salary, Celeste, but Tyler's taking over as CEO next month." "Next month?" The room spun. "You've already planned it all?" "The paperwork's in motion," he said, finally meeting my eyes. "I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but it's what's best." "For who?" I stood, legs shaking, grabbing my purse so fast I nearly toppled a lamp. "The family? Funny, I thought I was part of that." "Celeste, don't be dramatic," Vanessa called as I stormed toward the door. "This is why we needed someone steadier in charge." I paused at the threshold, turning back. "Dad?" He wouldn't look at me, just stared at his desk. "Fine, we'll talk later." "No," I said, quiet but firm. "We won't." I walked out head high, the front door slamming behind me like a gunshot. In my car, I gripped the wheel until my hands ached, then let the tears fall, hot, messy, unstoppable. My phone buzzed. Mia, my best friend. How'd it go? I started the engine, vision blurring as I typed back. They gave everything to Tyler, everything I worked for. Her reply was instant. "I'm coming over. Don't do anything dumb." Driving away, I caught Dad watching from the window, his face shadowed. Vanessa slid beside him and he turned away. 3 years. Early mornings, late nights, canceled plans, all handed to Tyler on a silver platter because Vanessa had sunk her claws into Dad's life. I wiped my eyes, The road ahead a smear of headlights. They thought they'd broken me. They were wrong. 3 days after my world imploded, I sat in Harold Brooks' law office, surrounded by towering bookshelves and the musk of old leather. It felt like a bunker, shielding me from the wreckage of my life. Harold, 65, had known me since I was 6, chasing fireflies in his backyard while he and Dad smoked cigars. His weathered face creased with concern as I spilled it all. The betrayal, Dad's promise, Tyler's smirk. My hands twisted a tissue into knots. "I just don't get it," I said, voice raw. "How could he legally do this? I thought the company would split between us kids." Harold removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Your father restructured the ownership last year. As majority shareholder, he can transfer his stake to whoever he chooses. Last year," the knife twisted deeper, "he'd been plotting this while I worked 80-hour weeks. So it's done?" He hesitated, then stood, crossing to a hulking filing cabinet. "There's something else you should know, about your grandmother's will. Grandma Eleanor passed 5 years ago, leaving everything to Dad, or so I'd thought." Harold returned with a thick folder, placing it on his desk like it might bite. "She was a remarkable woman, and prescient." He slid a document across. My hands shook as I read, "A trust fund, $2 million in my name, with conditions. I could claim it if I started a successful business by 30, profitable within a year, no family ties." "2 million, I whispered. "Why didn't I know?" "The clause was specific," Harold said. "It only activates if you're disinherited from the family business. She wanted it revealed to you alone, not your father." "She knew," I breathed, staring at the paper. Somehow she'd seen this coming. Vanessa's shadow creeping over Dad, me pushed aside. "Does he know?" "No." Harold's voice softened. She was clear. "This stays secret. There's more." He pulled another page. Lists of business contacts, market research, notes in her sharp script. Tools, not just money. She believed in creating, not inheriting. "Why keep it from me?" I asked, tracing her handwriting. "She thought you needed to find your own way first." He leaned back. Her words were, "Celeste needs to lose everything to build something real." I stood, walking to the window. Traffic crawled below, a gray blur. $2 million. Enough to start something big. "It won't be easy," Harold warned. "Starting a business never is, trust fund or not." "Nothing worth it ever is," I said, feeling a flicker I hadn't in days. Hope, sharp and fragile. "There's one more thing." His tone turned grave. "If you take this, you can't tell anyone. Not Richard, not Vanessa, not even Mia. The money has to look like yours, from savings or investors. She wanted your success to be yours alone." I nodded, mind racing. No one could claim I'd had a leg up. "Can I take these to study?" "Of course." He gathered the papers into a folder. "Celeste, she saw herself in you. Tough, stubborn, smart." As I turned to leave, he called, "Vanessa phoned yesterday, asking if you'd been here. She's worried about lawsuits." I smiled, picturing her pinched face. "Let her sweat. I've got bigger plans." Outside, the air hit me, crisp, alive. I texted Mia, "Meet me for coffee, I've got an idea." The folder weighed heavy in my bag, a lifeline I hadn't expected. My phone buzzed again. "Mia, on my way. You okay?" I ignored it for now, staring at the skyline. 3 years stolen. But Grandma had given me more than money, a chance to prove myself, to build something no one could snatch away. She'd known I'd need an escape hatch, and here it was, waiting for me to grab it. Walking to my car, I glanced up. The clouds parted, sunlight spilling through. "Thanks, Grandma," I murmured. She'd bet on me when no one else had. Now it was my move, my fight. I slid behind the wheel, the ache still there, but quieter, drowned out by something new. determination, hot and steady. They'd taken my inheritance. Fine. I'd make my own, and it'd be better than anything they could have dreamed. 3 days after Harold handed me Grandma's lifeline, I sat across from Mia in our favorite coffee shop, the hum of espresso machines and chatter wrapping around us like a cocoon. Laptops glowed on the table, my research sprawled across the screen, charts, stats, a lifeline of my own making. Mia stirred her latte, her dark eyes narrowing as I leaned forward, voice low but buzzing. I'm starting a company, GreenPath Solutions, eco-friendly packaging, biodegradable, affordable, for businesses drowning in plastic guilt. She raised an eyebrow, but I plowed on, turning my laptop to show her. The market's exploding. People want sustainable. But the suppliers out there? Overpriced or unreliable. I can do it better. Streamline the chain, cut the middlemen. Mia scanned the screen, then met my gaze. That's a hell of a pivot from corporate finance, Celeste. How are you funding this? You just lost your job. I'd rehearsed this lie, keeping Grandma's $2 million locked tight behind my teeth. Savings, I said smoothly, and investors. My track record at Dad's gives me cred. She hesitated, then nodded, and I exhaled, pulling up a spreadsheet. I've got 3 manufacturers lined up. Scalable production. We pitch direct to businesses, restaurants, retailers, anyone who wants green without breaking the bank. Mia grinned, slow and sharp. Okay, I'm in. Research, networking, whatever you need. Let's make them regret screwing you over. Fast forward 3 months, and GreenPath Solutions had a pulse. Our logo stenciled on a glass door in a downtown co-working space. All steel beams and potted plants screaming eco-chic. I'd traded my apartment's quiet for this hum of ambition, and it felt right. That afternoon, I sat in Lauren's sleek office, a restaurant chain exec with a no-nonsense bob and a pen tapping her desk. She turned one of our biodegradable takeout containers in her hands, brow furrowed. Samples look good, Celeste, but we've been burned by startups that can't deliver. How do I know you've got the supply locked down? I slid my tablet across, projections glowing. We've secured 3 facilities. Here's the capacity breakdown. No delays, no excuses. She squinted at the numbers. I've seen stats before. Why trust you over the big dogs? I leaned in, steady, despite the sweat prickling my spine. Because we're not just selling boxes. We're a full transition. Staff training, waste consulting, 20% cheaper than the competition. Streamlined ops, direct relationships, no bloated overhead. Lauren's eyebrows shot up. 20%? That's bold. My phone buzzed, Tyler's name flashing. I declined it, forcing a smile. Try us on a 3-month trial, 2 locations. If we flop, you walk. Family business? Lauren asked, clocking my flinch. Former, I corrected, voice tight. I'm building something new. She nodded, slow and deliberate, then reached for the contract. Let's start with the trial. If it holds, we'll talk all 30 spots. My heart thudded, but I kept my face cool as we shook hands. Outside, the city air hit me, and I let myself grin. Our first big client, a crack in the wall Tyler and Dad had built around my life. Back at the office, I was still riding that high when Tyler sauntered in, his designer jacket screaming trust fund brat. He smirked, eyeing our modest setup, desks, prototypes, a coffee maker humming in the corner. Nice little playhouse, he said, perching on my desk like he owned it. What do you want, Tyler? I asked, setting my briefcase down with a thud. He picked up a prototype container, twirling it. Heard you're making waves in the eco space. Dad's company's going green. Good PR, you know. We could use your stuff. Guaranteed contracts, stable cash. I stared at him, the gall of it sparking a laugh, sharp, cold. You want me to supply the company you stole? That's... He shrugged, smirk faltering. It's business, Celeste. Dad feels bad about how it went down. This could keep you in the fold. I snatched the container from his hands, my pulse hammering. I've got my own fold now, and we're doing fine without your crumbs. He stood, towering over me, but his eyes flickered, nervous. Where'd you get the startup cash anyway? Those costs must be brutal. None of your damn business, I said, stepping closer, voice steady despite the shake in my hands. Now, I've got work to do. He lingered, then headed for the door, tossing over his shoulder. Dad won't like this. Thinks you're being stubborn. I held the door open, pointed. Dad lost his vote on my life when he picked you. Send Vanessa my regards. He left, and I sank into my chair, hands trembling, not from fear, but fury, and something fiercer. Pride. My phone lit up, Lauren's text. Contract signed, sent to your lawyer. Excited to work together. I smiled, the shake steadying. Mia's voice crackled through my next call. We got it! The restaurant chain! She cheered. Drinks tonight? I glanced at my laptop, investor slides waiting. Can't. Meeting tomorrow. Rain check? She sighed. You're a machine, but I get it. I hung up, catching my reflection in the glass wall. Sharper, stronger. A woman Tyler wouldn't recognize. 3 months ago, I'd been a wreck. Now, I was building something real, something mine. That night, alone in the office, I opened Grandma's folder, her contacts staring back like a silent army. The trust fund had greased the wheels. Those manufacturers didn't come cheap, but the vision, the hustle, that was me clawing my way up. Tyler could mock all he wanted. Lauren's contract said I was a player now. I closed the folder, the hum of the space settling around me. They'd taken my past. Fine. I'd take the future, and I'd make it green, unbreakable, mine. 6 months after I'd staked my claim with GreenPath Solutions, the sustainability conference hall thrummed with energy, a sea of press badges and corporate suits swirling around our booth. I adjusted a stack of biodegradable containers, sleek, sturdy, mine, while Mia tweaked our banner, its bold green letters catching the light. Everything's perfect, she said, stepping back to admire the prototypes glinting under spotlights. We're already pulling crowds. My chest buzzed with something I hadn't felt in months. Anticipation, electric and real. This was our launch, our shot to prove GreenPath wasn't just a startup but a force. A reporter from Business Weekly approached, notebook flipped open, her pen poised like a weapon. Miss Young? Thoughts on disrupting the sustainable packaging game? Before I could answer, a voice sliced through the hum, too familiar, too smug. Disrupting? That's ambitious, isn't it? Tyler stood there, hands in the pockets of a suit that probably cost more than our booth fee, his grin sharp enough to cut glass. Behind him, Dad and Vanessa lingered, Dad's eyes darting, Vanessa's lips pursed in a tight smile. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face steady. What are you doing here? I asked, voice level, though my fingers tightened around a prototype. Tyler shrugged, picking up one of our containers and twirling it like a toy. Industry event, sis. Open to all players. Though, calling these revolutionary? Bit of a stretch. He smirked, tossing it back onto the stack. We're launching our own eco line next quarter, by the way. The reporter's pen scratched faster, her eyes flicking between us. Mr. Young, she said, turning to him, you're saying Young Enterprises is jumping into sustainable packaging too? Tyler puffed up, all swagger. Yep, with our resources and client base, we'll outprice smaller outfits like this one. His gaze slid to me, daring me to flinch. I didn't. Instead, I faced the reporter, my voice calm but edged. Actually, I'd love to talk about our recent contract with a national restaurant chain. They picked us for our innovative approach, cost-effective, full-service solutions, not just products. Her eyes widened. National chain? That's big for a new player. I nodded, pulling out my tablet, impact projections, glowing. We've also locked in 3 major retail chains. Want to see the numbers? Tyler's smirk faltered, a crack in his armor, but before I could press it, Dad stepped forward, his voice low. Celeste, can we talk privately? His tie hung crooked, his face lined with something heavy, regret maybe. I shook my head, gesturing to the growing crowd. Sorry, Dad, busy with clients. The reporter jumped back in, and I walked her through the data, my words crisp, my focus laser sharp. Over the next hour, our booth became a hive, reporters snapping photos, execs asking for cards, every handshake a brick in the wall I was building. Mia beamed as she fielded another inquiry. 5 meetings booked. Next week, she whispered. This is better than we dreamed. I nodded, adrenaline pumping, but my eyes caught Tyler arguing with Dad near the entrance, his arms flailing, Dad's shoulders slumped. Trouble in paradise. Huh? Then Tyler stormed back, his face flushed, his smirk replaced by a scowl. Real cute, he spat, leaning too close to our booth. Had to steal the spotlight, didn't you? I laughed, sharp and loud, drawing eyes. Steal? Like you stole my inheritance? That company was handed to you, Tyler. Nothing fair or square about it. His jaw tightened, and he dropped his voice, venom dripping. You think you're so clever, but where'd you get the start-up cash? Dad's asking questions. Something's off. Sounds like a you problem, I said, turning to greet an exec, but Tyler grabbed my arm, his grip tight. Listen, little... A deep voice cut him off. Is there an issue here? I looked up to see Ethan Hayes, tall and polished in a tailored suit, his eco-retail group badge glinting. I'm very interested in your products, Miss Young, but if this isn't a good time... Tyler released me, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. No issue, just family chit-chat. Former family, I corrected, extending my hand to Ethan. Shall we discuss your packaging needs? I led him to our meeting nook, ignoring Tyler's glare burning into my back. Ethan flipped through our catalog, nodding. Impressive setup. Your grandmother would be proud. I froze, coffee cup halfway to my lips. You knew her? He smiled, warm but wistful. Eleanor? A force of nature. We served on boards together. She always said her granddaughter would shake things up. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back, focusing on his words. Eco-retail has 200 stores needing sustainable solutions. Let's set a meeting. I nodded, scribbling his card's details, my throat tight. As he left, I caught Dad watching from across the hall, older somehow, worry carving his face. Vanessa whispered in his ear, and they turned away. Good. Let them stew. By day's end, our table overflowed with business cards, the air thick with possibility. Mia hugged me as we packed up, her voice giddy. You showed them. Everyone. I grinned, exhaustion mingling with triumph, when my phone buzzed. Harold. Trust fund activated. First profitable quarter confirmed. Congrats. My breath caught. The money had helped, sure, but this, the crowds, the deals, Ethan's words, that was mine, my work, my win. Tyler slunk out, tail tucked, no doubt off to whine to Dad. I watched him go, then turned back to Mia. They thought they'd bury me, I said, stacking the last prototype. Guess I'm harder to kill than that. She laughed, and I felt it, something solid, unshakable, rising in me. Grandma had bet on me, and today I'd proved her right. This wasn't the end. It was the start. 18 months after I'd planted GreenPath Solutions' flag, I sat in my new office, the downtown skyline sprawling beyond floor-to-ceiling windows I'd earned with every sleepless night. Awards lined the walls, proof of our third straight growth quarter, and my team buzzed beyond the glass. A machine I'd built from scratch. Mia lounged across from me, feet propped on my desk, reading from her tablet. GreenPath announces expansion plans, international by next quarter, she said, grinning. They're calling you an industry disruptor. I gazed out, still half stunned at how far we'd climbed, when Sophie, our office manager, burst in, her phone thrust out like a grenade. "Celeste, you need to see this." The headline blared, "Young Enterprises, Stock Plummets Amid Environmental Violations." I skimmed it, breath-catching, toxic dumping, cost-cutting gone wrong, millions in fines looming. Tyler's name popped up, his leadership a spotlighted disaster. Mia leaned over, whistling low. "Oh, wow, this is bad." My phone rang, Vanessa's number. I declined it, jaw tight, as another call rolled in. Dad this time. Voicemail. Then a text from Tyler. "Need to talk. Family emergency. Please." Sophie's phone buzzed again. "They're in the lobby," she said, eyes wide. "Your dad and Tyler. Should I send them away?" I thought of the nights I'd sobbed myself dry after they'd ripped my inheritance away. Tyler's smug face at every event. Dad's silence when I'd begged for answers. "No," I said, voice steady. "Send them up." 5 minutes later, they stood in my office, a stark contrast to the polished space. Dad looked hollow, his suit loose, hair more gray than black. Tyler's designer threads couldn't hide the desperation in his hunched shoulders. "Nice place," Dad said, glancing around, his voice thin. "You've done well." "What do you want?" I asked, leaning back in my chair, arms crossed. Tyler stepped forward, voice cracking. "We need your help. The violations, they started before us, but we hid them. The fines will bankrupt us." I raised an eyebrow, finishing for him. "But you covered it up instead of fixing it." I saw the report. Dad sank into a chair, hands clasped. "We need a partner, someone who knows sustainable practices, who can rebuild trust." "And you thought of me?" I laughed, sharp and cold, the sound bouncing off the glass. "How convenient." Tyler's face flushed, but he pressed on. "Look, I know we were wrong about everything. You're the real deal. We're offering you a chance to come back. Majority shares. Whatever you want." I stood, rounding my desk, the weight of their words sinking in. "Part of the family business? You mean the one you stole? The one you've run into the ground?" "Celeste, please," Dad said, standing too, his eyes glistening. "We're family." That word, family, hit like a slap. "Where was family when you gave Tyler everything I'd earned?" I snapped, stepping closer. "Where was it when he tried to tank me at the conference? When Vanessa spread rumors about my funding?" They flinched, shame flickering across their faces, and I kept going. "I built this from nothing. No connections, no handouts. Just sweat and vision. Something you'd never get." Tyler's voice dropped, desperate. "Without help, we'll lose it all." Dad nodded, defeated. "Everything." I pressed a button on my desk. "Sophie, show them out." Dad lingered, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Jessica, Celeste, I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake." For a second, my resolve wavered, his apology a crack in the wall I'd built. Then I remembered Grandma's will, lose everything to build something real. "I'm sorry too, Dad," I said, soft but firm. "But you chose. Now live with it." They shuffled out, Sophie's heels clicking behind them, and Mia hugged me, her grip fierce. "You okay?" I looked around, at the awards, the team, the view, and smiled, real and wide. "Yeah, I really am." My phone buzzed. Tyler again. "Please reconsider. We need you." I deleted it, no hesitation. They'd needed me before, when I'd modernized their systems, landed clients, but never valued me. Now they could watch their empire crumble while mine soared. Sometimes karma didn't need my help. It just worked. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as I knelt by Grandma Eleanor's grave, placing daisies on the cool marble, her name etched in elegant script. I'd been meeting Dad for breakfast every Wednesday for a month, rebuilding something fragile between us. And today, he'd asked to come here. I brought someone, Grandma, I said, stepping aside as Dad approached, his hands trembling with his own bouquet. He laid it beside mine, voice thick. Hello, Mother. Should have visited sooner. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Tyler arrested in Miami. Fake IDs. Frozen accounts. Vanessa had bolted to Europe with scraps of their ruin. Karma's got a long reach, Dad muttered, catching my glance. He straightened, his worn tie catching the wind. I got a job offer yesterday. Small consulting firm, sustainable transitions. They found me through you, said if I raised you, I'm worth hiring. I smiled, warmth cutting through the chill. That's great, Dad. Harold's voice called behind us, steady and familiar. Celeste, thought I'd find you here. He approached, folder in hand, his gray hair glinting in the sun. Your grandmother left this for when you'd exceeded her conditions. Inside was her letter, her sharp script a jolt to my chest. My dearest Celeste, if you're reading this, you've earned it, built something meaningful. Success isn't what we're given, but what we create. I hid the trust fund so you'd find your strength. Your father had to learn too. Make your legacy count. All my love, Grandma. Tears blurred the words as I handed it to Dad. He read silently, then folded it, eyes wet. She knew I'd fail you, he said, voice breaking, and planned for it. I shook my head. She knew you'd learn from it. Harold cleared his throat. There's more. A foundation for young entrepreneurs, women especially, in sustainable businesses. She wanted you to lead it. I stared, stunned, as he smiled. Paperwork's ready. Dad touched the headstone, soft. That's her, paying it forward. Dad, I said, sudden and sure, want to help with it? Your experience could matter. He blinked, moved. You'd trust me? I nodded. Trust is earned, but everyone gets a shot to rebuild. Harold handed me a pen, and I signed the Legacy Foundation papers on Grandma's grave, the wind scattering leaves like applause. Dad stood beside me, not the man who'd betrayed me, but one clawing back. What'll you call it? He asked. I traced her name, Eleanor. The Legacy Foundation. True legacy's what we build. Back at the office, Mia grinned at our latest reports, the skyline gleaming beyond my windows. I tucked the folder away, the worthless Young Enterprises shares in my drawer, a faded echo. Grandma hadn't just saved me, she'd given me a mission. Somewhere Tyler and Vanessa faced their wreckage, but here I was forging hope. The breeze from that morning lingered in my mind, her approval a whisper. Sometimes revenge wasn't the point. It was living well, building better, lifting others up. That was her real gift, and I'd make it count.